Welcome everybody. This is the second of two presentations I'm doing tonight. I've got a different welcome slide on this one with a little bit different focus on different aspects of my background because we're dealing with Flight Academy on this one, not just service academies in general. I'm a former military navigator, transport aircraft, 3,000 plus hours, retired in 2015, got my Federal Aviation Administration small UAS or drone license back in 2017. And ended up getting my private pilot certificate in 2018. I got about 175 hours in general aviation aircraft since then. And so I've got a real passion for aviation and everything flight related. Junior RTC started this Flight Academy program 3 years ago. I've been involved with it since day one. We've been successful since day one. I've been asking a lot of questions of headquarters since the program began so that we can get our cadets the best opportunities we can to get them selected for this program. If you watch the Service Academy and College RTC scholarship presentation I just did at 7 o'clock, you'll notice that there might be a lot of overlap in requirements and ways to make yourself more competitive. That's because all of these programs are pretty challenging, pretty demanding. Cadets that are in the audience tonight, especially freshmen, you are probably not going to be eligible to apply for this opportunity this year, just mainly because of age. But if this is something you're interested in, you can start doing things now to make yourself competitive for the coming years. So hang tight and listen to everything. To keep the flow going, like I said, I'm going to just be one-way conversation for most of this. We'll save questions to the end. I think we will have time to address at least some of them because this presentation runs a little under 30 minutes, probably more like 20 minutes. I may be able to answer some questions in the time allotted. And if not, I'll try to answer them on email later on. But I just posted my standard comment again in the chat window. If you open that up, send an email to me at my school address that's posted there. Don't post your email address in the chat window because then everybody's got it. I'm going to send out a handout. It's about 2 pages of information. I think it's pretty good. It goes into a lot more detail. In other words, you don't have to scramble to take notes during this presentation. I'm going to post it to YouTube also so you can review it that way. Moving right along, this program, what it is, it's basically an 8-week summer program, and it's the Air Force partnering with participating universities nationwide to take cadets from zero experience in flying all the way to their private pilot certificate, meaning you're a licensed pilot, you can fly around your family and friends and go all sorts of cool places, and it's all expenses paid. I mean, when you count in the transportation to and from the university, the equipment that you need to fly, your lodging, the food and everything, it's a $20,000 value. If you were to get your private pilot license on your own locally, like I did, it's going to cost you upwards of $10,000 because you don't even need lodging, additional food expenses or travel or things like that. Just the actual flight training itself is 10 grand plus. So in addition to being this all expense paid license opportunity, you also get to experience campus life at one of those colleges and see what it would be like. It counts as up to 12 college credits towards a degree, probably towards an aviation degree, most likely. There's a lot of different colleges that are participating. The ones that I know of right now, and they're subject to change throughout the year, but places like California Baptist University, Delaware State, the esteemed Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, both their Daytona Beach campus and their Prescott, Arizona campus, Florida Memorial University, Kansas State University, Liberty University in Virginia, Purdue University in Indiana, like shown here, Southeastern University in Florida, University of North Dakota, and Utah Valley State University. All of those places have very robust flying training programs. There are other colleges around the country that have flying training programs as well. They may elect to participate in the future. This program has no military commitment. It doesn't mean you're going to go into the Air Force and fly fighters or anything. It doesn't necessarily help you get into a service academy or get a college RTC scholarship, but it certainly does look good on an application. You basically, though, want to do Flight Academy through Junior RTC because you have a passion for aviation and you're potentially considering an aviation-related career. If there's no military commitment, why does the Air Force have this program? You know, why don't they want to encourage people to become military aviators? Really, they're trying to get more people interested in aviation in general, aviation careers specifically, and they actually have a special focus on getting underrepresented communities into flying. For example, women and minorities are represented at a lower percentage of the flying population than they are in the general public. And so they're trying to improve those numbers. Even people that don't become military pilots, let's say they send a kid to Flight Academy and they end up flying for the airlines. Well, that's one less officer that's going to potentially leave the military service to take an airline spot that's open, because it's filled by somebody that started from zero in high school and ended up going through the ranks that way into airline service. So that means that there's still going to be more people serving in the military as a net result. So that's one of the reasons why they're promoting this thing. This year, we're projected to have nationwide again, 100 to 150 slots for all the applicants. That means it's going to be very competitive. I think the last one they held, the board had to look at 2,000 something applications. So you're talking about top 5% are getting selected nationwide. The number of available spots probably would have been higher for next summer, but all the slots that were supposed to be used this summer, they had to delay those because of the coronavirus pandemic. So those kids are getting the opportunity to go next summer, and that's going to push down the number of new spots that are open. You see here on the left of the slide, this is our one Woodlands High School graduate that has been selected and completed the program successfully so far. She did that back 2 years ago. She was our only applicant that year, and she got it. She was in the inaugural Junior ROTC Flight Academy, and she's a cadet at the Air Force Academy now, and she's planning to make a flying career out of it. 2 years ago, we had 11 applicants, and nobody got picked up for whatever reason. But then this past year, we had 5 applicants, and 3 of our 5 got selected, which I was pretty happy about. Sky Nolan was selected. She graduated this past spring. And because she was already graduated, this was her last chance this summer to get to do it. Since it got delayed due to the pandemic, she is no longer eligible to go next summer, but she is already enrolled in Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University's online program, and she's taking flying lessons locally because she plans on becoming an airline pilot. So she is still on the aviation career path. Now, some more current people that you see here. Will Pluto in the upper right of the screen. He's flying with me in the picture there, but he is our current freshman B flight commander, 6th period, and he got selected. He's going to attend the Flight Academy this coming summer, and he plans on becoming an airline pilot. And then another one of our cadets in the lower right there, Isaac Skinner. He would have been a senior with us this year, but unfortunately he had to move out of the country due to his dad's employer. And he's still, though, staying connected with us in our aviation team, chatting with them. And he is currently applying for a college ROTC scholarship, looking to have a flying career in the military. So that's a general overview of what Flight Academy is all about. Eligibility requirements. Big one that is pretty much make or break, and you know right away whether you're going to be eligible for this next summer or not, is you have to be 17 years old by next July 9th. That is because of federal regulations. It's a requirement to be at least 16 years old to solo an aircraft during your training, and you have to be at least 17 to earn your pilot's license. Again, that's federal aviation regulations. The next thing there, you have to be available all summer next year, meaning dedicate from last day of school to the first day of school in August. You're going to be available because you will be, should you be selected, you'll be sequestered at this college for the duration of that time. If you say, well, can I get there a week late or can I leave a week early? They're not going to pick you, and you're not going to get to go. If you do get selected, you say, but grandma's 90th birthday, we're going on a cruise in July. That's a non-starter for them because you got to show that you're committed. They're spending, again, $20,000 to put you through this program. They're going to take somebody that is a little more dedicated than that to do it. So plan on it taking the full 8 weeks also. You could finish early. If everything goes perfect and you're a hot stick and everything, get your check ride done early, but you also have to account for, could be a week worth of storms in there that set you back a week. Maybe there's a maintenance problem with the plane you've been flying, so it sets you back a day while they get it fixed. So things happen. That's why they plan on it taking 8 full weeks. The application itself is mostly online. It will require parent signatures on it. So it's not just something that the cadet can fill out and the parent has no idea that you just committed to potentially 8 weeks gone next summer. And then you've got to get counselor recommendations. You've got to get my recommendation as the senior aerospace science instructor. And then the big thing in the application is something called the Aviation Qualification Test, AQT. You have to take that in person with me. I have to be in the room with you watching you do it. It's a timed test. It's very challenging. It's got, I think, 5 different sections of the test. it counts as 45% of the application process. I do some training with cadets to help prepare them. I think it's pretty good because, again, we had 3 out of 5 kids get selected last year. So we'll be starting up those prep classes pretty soon. The medical examination, I'll talk about that. That's one of the class 1 medical is the most demanding that you can get as a pilot. That's what airline pilots use. Junior ROTC wants to know that you are somebody that's capable of advancing in your qualifications all the way up to air transport pilot for the airlines, should you choose to make flying a career. In other words, that's a return on their investment. They don't want you to just meet the bare minimums to fly a Cessna around the local airport and call it good. They want to see that you have the potential, at least, to make an aviation career out of it. Grades, you're looking at unweighted GPAs, so means out of a 4-point scale. So keep that in mind when you're taking those AP classes that are on a 6-point scale. If you're getting a 4-point on the 6-point scale, that might only be a 2.5 unweighted. So keep that in mind when you're looking at what classes you're taking. On top of that, you got to maintain that 3.0 GPA. You can't let it slip once you get selected, because the colleges that you're going to attend or the program are looking at you as a potential student, and they might offer you scholarships and things, and you want to make sure you're meeting their eligibility criteria as well. The fitness tests that they look for as part of the application process, it is our junior ROTC physical fitness test. It's 3 events now. That's changed from the past. It used to be 5, but now it's push-ups for a minute, sit-ups for a minute, and a 1-mile run. And you've got to score at least the 50th percentile average of those events. It counts as 10% of your application, which doesn't sound like much, but if all other things are equal, they're going to take that cadet that maybe did a couple more push-ups, ran a little bit faster, showed that they wanted it a little bit more. So start getting ready for that, especially with this timeline in mind. The application window has just opened this week. That's why I wanted to get this information out to you as quickly as possible. It runs through November 25th. I believe that's Thanksgiving week, so really you've got a little bit less time than that. That fitness test deadline is September 25th. That's, 2 weeks from now, I think, if I'm doing my math right. We usually schedule a PFT in class during your PT day, that everybody does it at the same time. Because school started online for the first couple of weeks and we haven't gotten into our normal PT sessions in class, we are not ready to do that yet. Meaning, if you want to apply for Flight Academy this year, you need to schedule with me a time, whether that's first thing in the morning before school, after school. We'll set it up. I'll try to make myself as available as I can, but we're going to have to coordinate that so that I can test you. And again, I'm pretty strict on this because this is about money. This is about a $20,000 program. And I'm gonna count if you're not doing push-ups correctly, or if you're not doing sit-ups correctly. I'm the stickler for making sure you're doing everything by the book, so that when you get there, they don't say, "How did you get into this program?" Because you can't even do a proper push-up, and they send you home. That'd be pretty embarrassing for everybody. So I hold you to the high standards that they expect. Similarly, on the appointment process, that AQT, that qualification test, it runs starting next week through the 25th of November. Since I've got to do that one-on-one with you, I've got to time it. I've got to make sure everything's working properly. That's going to be a by appointment thing as well. A lot of things are happening between now and the deadline. Football games, things after school. There's certain dates that are teacher work days or holidays. Those won't be available, obviously, but I'll have a calendar and it'll be a first come, first serve as far as what days and times I'll have available. And we'll get everybody set up with that thing as well. And I want to make sure that I get you some training before that test so that you are a little bit better prepared for the test itself. Selection is going to happen 11 January is the plan. They're going to make the announcement. You'll know if you got selected or not. And then the medical examination is required after you get selected. And that's a little odd to me. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But sometimes people get selected and you didn't, but you got on the alternate list. You're like, I'm an alternate. But then somebody ends up not being able to pass the medical, and all of a sudden now you're on a spot for going next summer. So it's not a bad thing to be on the alternate list. In fact, I think they went through like 50 alternates one year, which is pretty amazing. So don't give up just because you make it on the alternate list. Now, how should you start preparing? And this is for everybody, even if you're not planning on applying this year. I try to rank these in what I think are the order of importance. Health and medical, you want to find out that stuff right away. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Academics, we'll talk about that as well. The extracurriculars, I put on there outside junior ROTC. it's weird to me that this is an ROTC program, yet they're asking things on the application about part-time jobs that you might have, or teams outside of junior ROTC that you're on, you know, an in-town rugby league or rowing team, or are you leading anything in your church? I mean, they're looking for that well-rounded person, not just you're a one-dimensional person. But again, don't take on a bunch of new responsibilities and join a bunch of things because you want to try to get selected for this. You know, if it costs you academic performance, because this is one opportunity, but you know, taking a hit on your academics is going to knock you out of a lot more opportunities than just this. So keep that in mind as well. The flying, I've got the question mark there because that's kind of a two-edged sword. Having a couple of hours of flight experience, such as Young Eagles program that we work on, that's good, but you don't want too many hours of experience. Because otherwise the Air Force says, well, shoot, you're a fourth of the way to your pilot's license without our help. Why are we going to send you to this program, spend all this money that's meant to take somebody from little to no experience and make them a full pilot? So they don't want to waste your time or their time going over stuff that you probably already know. However, the application is going to ask you, are you involved with your unit's rocketry program? Are you involved with your drone program? Those are basically yes or no boxes. I want you to be able to check those. So I would say get involved in those things with us in junior ROTC so that as many things as you can check yes on the application, you want to be able to check yes. And then, like I said on the Service Academy brief, there is a difference between being eligible and being competitive. You know, the minimum score on the PFT is 50. You don't want to settle for getting a 50 or a 55. You want to get an 80, a 90. So you want to do the best you can. And with only 2 weeks till the deadline for that, if you're way out of shape, you need to get in as good a shape as you can to see if you're even going to meet the standard. And if you're in pretty decent shape, you just want to keep working at it to get as high a score as you can. You want to start taking the right classes and getting the right experiences and getting those extracurricular activities going now so that you can show some leadership in those things, because that's something that they want to look for. Because it basically comes down to how bad do you want this and how much you're willing to prepare, because you don't want somebody else at some other school to get a spot that, and if I would have just worked a little bit more, I could have, you don't want to kick yourself for not putting out 100% effort. And like I said, I like prioritizing things and eliminating variables. That's just my analytical mind thinking. But before you get too far down the road of, man, I'm setting up for success here, you want to know if you're medically qualified to be a pilot in the first place. That's why it's odd to me that they make you take that physical after they select you, because then they just have to start working on that alternate list. I would like to know if I've got a shot right off the bat. For example, you might not be eligible to fly if you have some sort of heart condition. But things that usually surprise people are some eyesight related issues. Maybe it's depth perception. You can't, really make out depth perception that well, or certain kinds of color blindness could impact you. Even certain medications, like I said on the Service Academy and ROTC presentation, ADHD medications can be a problem for the FAA. In the file that I'll send you, it's got some links to where you can find out more information on what's okay, what's not okay, as far as medications go. Some of them they want you to be off of for a period of time. It could be months, it could be years. I know somebody that started their training, had to stop because there's an issue with a medication they took for like 2 months several years ago. Doctor said it was okay. The FAA says, yeah, probably okay, but we got to do all the requisite paperwork, and they've been dragging their feet, and it's been like 2 months. And there really isn't that kind of time with the timeline we have for the Flight Academy. So you want to find out what you need to do and what medications are okay and how you need to fix things. You don't have to have perfect eyesight. I don't have perfect eyesight anymore. I wear glasses when I fly and when I drive, but you do have to meet certain requirements, and those are going to be spelled out in the links that I provide. Don't try to game the system. Hey, I'm going to stop taking this medicine 2 weeks before the physical and hope they don't notice. Don't hide things about your medical history, prior drug use, or mental health things. Be honest, because sometimes they can work through those things with you. But if not, and they find out later, then you've got some fraudulent things potentially and some legal repercussions there. And besides, flying is, it's fairly safe hobby and profession, but you don't want to have anything where you're going to be unsafe for yourself or your passengers. You wouldn't want to get on an airliner where the guy is, I forgot to take my heart medication today and he has a heart attack. You don't want to have a pilot that is on illegal drugs and maybe isn't focused like they should be. So that's why this is important. The fitness, like I said, start now, get in shape, stay in shape. Even if you're not applying until next year, that means you get a whole year to max out that PT test. So you need to work towards that goal. Academic-wise, when I last looked at the application, it only asks for your GPA. It doesn't ask for what classes you're taking specifically. Now, that being said, flying is inherently a technical, a STEM kind of activity. So it does help if you are taking some of those kind of math and science classes higher level. If nothing else, it's going to help you understand the concepts that you'll be taught in your ground school, and while you're flying, it'll be a little bit easier for you to wrap your head around. And like I said before, if you're taking those advanced classes, honors classes, AP classes, dual credit classes, do well in those because they're looking at unweighted GPAs. It will ask if you have SAT scores, if you have ACT scores to provide those. Most of you probably don't because you're just not that far into your high school career to have taken them. I would start taking them no later than the fall of your junior year and take them several times just to maximize your potential for the highest scores. If you do have scores, go ahead and provide them because, again, colleges that are participating in this program are also looking at, hey, is this somebody we can reach out to that we would want to have in our program? Now, you apply to Flight Academy and the board announces the selections and you aren't on the list. You're like, oh, I guess I'm not going to get to fly. There are other ways to get money for flight training as a high school student. The Airline Owners and Pilots Association, AOPA, the Experimental Aircraft Association, EAA, I've got those both listed there. They both have some money from a wealthy donor who passed away and left a lot of money just to help the next generation learn how to fly. They offer $10,000 scholarships to high school students, which incidentally is about how much it costs to get your private pilot's license. They are limited in number, highly competitive nationwide, but it's another way to get your private pilot license while you're still in high school. The application windows are at different times throughout the year. Sometimes there's several times a year. I know that one of the EAA scholarship opportunities is taking applications right now, and they're closing that out November 1st. So there is time to kind of get together your application. I can provide details as they become available and to those cadets who are interested in those things. Universities, if you're planning on going to college and maybe majoring in an aviation-related field, and they've got a flying program like University of Oklahoma, University of North Dakota, Liberty, Kansas State, Purdue. They might have college scholarships just for college in general that you can apply towards your aviation classes. They might have aviation-specific classes. I know one of our cadets that just graduated just got her private pilot's license on her own through high school, on her own dime, spent her own money doing it. I don't recommend taking it during the school year because you've got so much else on your plate, but she was able to finally get her check ride, and she is at Louisiana Tech University now, just left this last weekend, and she'll already be starting on her advanced flying ratings. So you can do that, and you can get money in college to do that as well. You just have to delay that experience until college if you go that route. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA.gov, that I've got listed there, they've got a link to various aviation-related grants and scholarships. Some are broken down by underserved communities in aviation that maybe you qualify for one of those grants or scholarships. And there could be other opportunities out there that I personally am not aware of. Google is your friend in that case. If you find out about something, let me know and maybe I can help you with the application process.